I'm here with my buddy Riley, who is not barking at me. He's a nervous dog. I would say nervous, he's more of an anxious dog. And in this video, we're gonna go over some tips you can use if your dog has some issues with a child, specifically the child's presence being near. So we have a young child in the house that's just started walking a couple months ago. And he has now started kind of nipping and growling at her at times when she approaches. So now there's 3 other dogs in the house and none of the dogs know any commands. So they're all really low on confidence, and that's going to make them a little bit more irritable and create some other issues. So in this video, like I said, I'm going to show you some tricks. We want our dogs to be able to move away from things. Dogs have what's called a fight or flight response. So it's a very cozy home. It's a beautiful home, but there aren't a lot of rooms. There's a lot of barricades because there's 4 dogs here and a young one. And so it's easy for the dog to feel trapped and confined. Now, dogs normally want to run away from something, and if they don't have that option, they're going to turn and nip. And so because this room is confined, there's no escape routes, and the child is now getting up and moving around, the dog might feel a little trapped. So one of the things you want to do is always make sure your dog has an escape route. And so behind the couch, behind me, you can't see it with the angle, so I'm going to do kind of a pantomime of it in this video. But what we're going to do is we're going to teach the dogs to go behind the couch because the baby can't get back there, and these are wiener dogs, well, and Yorkies, so they're very small dogs. So in order to do that, we want to first of all create a command word. Now I'm going to show you an easy way to do it by using what's called using a clicker. Have you ever used a clicker before?
No.
Okay. Sit. There you go. So basically the click is to indicate when you did exactly what I wanted. So as soon as his butt hits the ground, I clicked and then I gave him the treat. Now in order to use the clicker, you first have to do what we call priming or loading the clicker. I'm going to show you how to do that with a couple of treats. So I have a treat, I throw it on the ground. The instant he licks it up, I click. So after a while, this becomes a classically conditional response. I hear the click and I'm thinking treats on my mouth. Now these are chicken liver treats, are really highly desirable treats, and he likes them very much. All right, now, so basically what we want to do when you prime the clicker, you want to do this, and I'm going to leave you guys a clicker, so hopefully by the time you're watching this video in a couple days, you've already done all this. So after I leave tonight, give them about an hour, and then you can do it with all the dogs individually. Tear these treats into quarters, throw about 10 on the ground, and click every time the dog licks it up. Now click like this, not like this. Make sure it's really concise. And don't ever go, it's not a remote control. It's just to indicate when you did what I want. It helps accelerate the learning. Now the process in an ideal world is the dog does the action, I say the command word, or mark with a click, then it gets the reward. And I'll show you here for an SAT. Whoop, it's hard with the Dachshund. Sit. So instead of using this as a marker, I said sit right before the butt hits the ground. Then he did the job that I wanted sitting, and I lured him into it, but then I paid him afterwards. So after a while, he sees, the way he perceives it is, I hear the word sit, and that means if I put my butt down, then I'm going to get a treat. So you can use this clicker for anything you want to teach your dog to. I'm going to basically show you how to teach him to go to that little blanket right there that we're going to simulate being the thing behind the bed. Now temporarily, when you're teaching this, I would move that table off the side because you're just going to need to sit there. And you're going to have him go in there. You're going to really probably throw a treat and he'll go in there. And it's right before he licks it up, you're going to say the word. So I would come up with a word like Switzerland, or some word that means to run away. And we're also going to go over something we can do with the baby to teach the dogs to incorporate some distance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the command word Jamaica for this fuchsia colored dog bed. So what I do is I throw the treat on there. Well, you're supposed to see that. Jamaica. So I could use a clicker too. So basically, Jamaica. So I throw the treat. He has 1 or more paws on it, and right before the treat goes in his mouth, I'm saying the word Jamaica. So eventually what we're saying is Jamaica means to go here. So basically, Jamaica. If you want to use them both, I would probably use either a clicker or say the word Jamaica. Now, if I want to teach him to sit, actually, let me do that again. Whoop. You keep on getting into that dance mode. That's not what I'm looking for. I think you're going to a sit. 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 There we go. And if I want to do it with a clicker, I would do it like this. Whoop. And then give them the treat. So I like, and so you can do either one. The clicker just makes it a little bit faster. And if I want to use them both, I'll do the combo here. sit, and then I release the treat. Now you saw he jumped a little bit. That's because we haven't sufficiently primed the clicker. I'm doing that because we're kind of under the clock right now. But you want to do that. So tonight I'm going to leave those treats with you, divvy them up into quarters. Throw about 10 on the ground. And if the dog is really frightful about it, like at this distance, move it behind your back and click every time the dog licks it up. You only do that with 10 treats, maybe 4 or 5 times for each dog over the course of 2 days, and then you probably should never have to prime the clicker again. So what we want to do is we want to basically give the dog a flight option. So if the baby's coming, I can run behind the couch and the baby can't get there. Now, if the couch ends up turning out to be a situation where you can't do it, you can do it somewhere else, maybe create a little area over there. One of the things you can do is just get some wood and create a little square, maybe this big, that's only big enough for the dogs to go in, the baby can't go through. So then what you would do is sit there with the dog, throw the treat through it. When it jumps through it, you would say Switzerland, or like we're gonna do for them. So imagine that this is, let's say that I'm over there where the table is, and that is behind the couch. So I throw it over there, Switzerland. He comes back out, Switzerland. So what we're doing is we're just saying that going back there means you get a treat. Now, eventually, when, let's say he's here and the baby starts walking towards him and he bares his teeth, well, we could say Switzerland, and then he runs over here expecting a treat. What do? We increase the distance between him and the baby, which is what he's trying to accomplish when he shows his teeth. Now, in this video, in this mask that I have Quest's face here on my face, and you see his mouth is open. That's a normal natural body mechanic for dogs, just to be nice and relaxed. If you see it go from open to closed and he stares at the baby or stares away from the baby, that's a big warning to the baby. It just got real. And so if we don't intercede, then he thinks it's my job to deal with it. So if your dog ever barks, growls, air bites, lunges, bares its teeth at something, you should never, ever, ever punish it. Because it's not saying I'm aggressive towards it, it's saying I don't like the baby approaching me. I turn my head away, and this is usually the litany. So I'm here as Riley, hanging out, having a good old time. I see the baby starts walking this way. I look and I see it and I say, I don't want you to come here. I'm going to look away. What's called a cutoff. Yes, I know. Are we back to the barking thing? Come here, buddy. Let's get you to sit. Sit. Very good. So basically, looking away is called a cutoff signal. We do this with each other. If somebody comes up and they look at us and we don't want to engage them, we don't give them direct eye contact. We look away to try to diffuse the situation and to tell them they're not interested. And let's say the baby keeps on coming closer. Now I might lower my head a little bit. And the baby keeps on coming. I might bare my teeth a little bit at the baby. And I might take an air bite or a lunge. And people like the dog was missing the baby. No, the dog was warning the baby. It knows exactly where its feet or where its mouth is going. It's just saying, I don't like it. I've had a lot of clients, they punish the dog for growling, baring its teeth, air biting, all this stuff. The dog's like, that's fine. I won't warn anymore. I'll go straight to a bite. And that becomes a dangerous situation. So basically what we want to do is we want to teach the dog to move away from the baby. So I can maybe be sitting here, let's say I'm holding the baby, and the dog is here. Well, I have the treat, and and also my attention is what's going to cause the dog to be here. So we might want to create a move away command. So you could say flee, you could say distance or space or something along, but what we're trying to do is a funny word that means to move away from me. And so the way I'm going to do it, let me grab some more treats here. And since he's a little guy, well, he's in okay shape, kind of like me, but we're turning these in half because we don't want to get too big. All right, so what we want to do is dogs don't have to practice, they don't generalize, they have to practice in every capacity. So if I want the dog to leave, I'm going to say flee as the word. So flee. Comes back to me. Flee. 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 Now you see he's orientated towards me, and I want to wait for him to come back to me. So you would be here with the baby and wait for him to come, and so I would I usually don't encourage dogs to jump up. In this case, I kind of am a little bit. Flee. So what am I doing? I'm putting in context, moving away from me while I'm holding the baby. So flee means move that way, this way. It can be moved any way, just move away from the baby. So let's say the baby's in the baby gate that's right here in front, and he comes over here. You can do the same thing. You say flee and run it over here. He runs away from the baby. We say the word flee. So we're creating a command word for the dog to move away from the baby. So that way, because sometimes the baby's not paying attention. So let's say the baby is just kind of he's sitting here with a bone, the baby kind of leans down and her head is next to the dog, that could create a situation. So we say flee, the dog can move away, or we can say Switzerland and the dog runs away behind the couch. I'd probably keep the Switzerland for when the baby is chasing the dog and the dog's trying to move away. I'd probably use the flee just to get the dog to move away from whatever it is. And if the dog ever moves away on its own, I would reach over and I would pet him a lot. And you recognize what he's doing. He's saying, I didn't like that and I moved away. That's awesome, Riley. That's exactly what we want. Now, some of the things you're going to look for are turning the head away, staring directly at the baby or looking away from the baby, licking my lips. Those are signs of stress. Also, breathing heavy or holding my breath. You can also look at the corners of his mouth. I don't know where the mouth is here, but if the corners of the mouth go like this, they go back this way, that's submissive or fearful. If they go this way, we're making the mouth smaller, that's more aggressive, not necessarily aggressive, but it's more in that family. So for him, I can't tell if he is fearful or not, because I mean, a lot of the reactivity he was getting, he's so short as a Dachshund, I couldn't see his the corners of his mouth. But you're also looking at the body mechanics. As a dog, am I leaning forward? This is dog body language. That's how he reacted. So like, so direct, staring at him and leaning towards him. Now watch this. So I looked away and I tilted my head to the side. That means contemplation where I don't know what's going on. So our body language can have an influence on him. Now I think, here, come. So you saw, I don't know if you can see in that video, but he had his legs way out behind him. If his legs are out underneath and he's leaning away or leaning towards me, he's saying he's insecure. I'm getting ready to run away. And so we want to make sure that we're putting him in a situation. Everybody, sit. Sit. Very good. I couldn't get the clicker out fast enough. That was great. So if he doesn't even know the basic commands like sit, it's hard for him to have any confidence. Then the baby comes over, doesn't listen to me, and I growl and bare my teeth. The humans yell at me for doing that. I jump up on the humans and they pet me. I have no rules. That's kind of the scenario that this dog lives under. And as a result, he thinks he's in charge of everything. I didn't invite the little baby to come into the room. Now the baby does whatever the heck it wants. It doesn't listen to me. So I bark like crazy, and that gets a lot of attention from my humans. So remember, we're not going to bark. I'm getting a little bit off track for this video, so let me sum this one up. But if he's barking, remember, you're going to ignore. And if he jumps up on you, we're going to just pull our arms back and freeze, become the most boring person ever. And we'll give him a chance to do it here. This is not the most exciting footage. Yeah, you're not going to do it, huh? Oh, sit. Now, he went into a sit. I usually wait for the dog to get down and then tell them to sit, but he went straight to a sit, and a sit is a more desirable behavior. So anyways, if you have a dog that is baring its teeth, growling, air biting, lunging, all that stuff, never punish it or correct it for doing that. Find ways for the dog to increase distance, and what we've done is we've created now a place behind the dog bed, behind the human couch, where I run away. We call it Switzerland, wherever the room is, and we also practice. So I'd like you to go in every room in your house, have a bunch of treats, and then basically at first throw the treat away this way, this way, this way, all the directions around you. The next stage would be maybe I'm here with a baby, and maybe one treat, the dog can smell it as a treat, comes here, and you have the treats. And so you say, you maybe make a noise like, he looks, and then you drop a treat over there, he runs over there, and you say flee. So at first you're doing it, then the treat is being delivered elsewhere, and this helps the dogs identify moving away from whatever it is a rewardable thing. And eventually when he does it on his own for the baby, make sure you reward him, make him think that you just did the best thing you could ever possibly do, because he will want to emulate and do that activity again. Riley! Riley! This is my buddy Riley, and he's an example of why there are things called mini Dachshunds. And this is my, sit. This is my buddy Riley, and there's some tips and tricks you can use if you have a dog that is having some difficulty with a little kid that's starting to move around.